the Compliance and Amendments Committee of the Sunshine Ordinance Task Force called to order at 4:17 on September 17th, 2013. I want to apologize for being late. I just had some bad Muni karma today. So, Ms. Osprey, would you call the roll, please?
Member Nee absent. Member Grant?
Present.
Grant present, and Chair Washburn.
Present.
You have a quorum?
See, I'm looking at who's here. It looks like we have representatives for item 3. That's the primary order of business for today. So let's just go in order of the agenda. Ms. Osprey, would you call the next item, please?
Sure. Adoption of the August 20th, 2013 regular meeting minutes.
I'd like to move that, look, it's only me. I'd like to move that we adopt the minutes from the August 20th, 2013 meeting.
I second the motion. I had a chance to review them, and I just have some, they look fine except for some major punctuation just to help readability. So, Ms. Osprey, I'm just going to hand this to you. Member Grant, did you have any changes at all? Okay.
No.
Is there any public comment on the minutes? A motion to approve the minutes? Okay, seeing none, Ms. Osprey, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Member Grant?
Yes, aye.
Grant, aye, and Chair Washburn.
Aye.
Aye. You have 2 ayes.
Ms. Osprey, would you call the next item on the agenda, please?
Item number 3, file number 13013, hearing on the status of the order of determination of Ray Harts Jr. against Luz Herrera for allegedly abridging public comment by allowing selective accessibility to library audio visual equipment.
Okay, the complainant, Mr. Harts, you have 5 minutes to bring us up to date on this interesting case that's actually gotten some press, or about a month or so ago.
Good afternoon. Ray Harts, Director, San Francisco Open Government, and I think from the documents that are in the file, it's pretty clear what the Library Commission decided to do. They put it on their agenda, they had a hearing, and they listened to their own arguments. Basically the same arguments that they put before the full task force, saying that they needed to spend $40,000, that there was nothing that required them to allow access. Basically it's, okay, we want to do a certain thing, so let's put our argument forward and simply buy our own argument and do what we want to do, and ignore the fact that an order of determination had been put out from the full task force stating that they were abridging public comment. I had expected Ms. Blackman to be here and expected her to, in fact, one of the interesting things, if you read the sample minutes that she provided for this, you will see that I included a 150-word summary where I said I must be prescient because I'm able to point out exactly what you're going to do before you do it, and that's exactly what they did do. The bottom line is Ms. Blackman would be here to argue, not I think because she believes it, but because she works for Jewel Gomez, the president of the Library Commission, and Luis Herrera, the city librarian, and simply wants to or has to do what they tell her to do. The argument that they have to spend $40,000 is a canard. Basically, again, as I stated at the full task force meeting, all I want is equal access. They have people that they approve of who come in all the time, provide Ms. Blackman with the slides that they want to use in Microsoft PowerPoint format, which is all I wanted to do, and which is what I did. I actually, for this particular meeting, where they had the discussion, gave 2 slides, which were simply 2 quotes from famous authors, and asked that they be included, and that was sent back and declined. So they had their discussion and ignored anything anybody else, for the public or whatever, said to them, and voted 6-0 to deny access. Now, one argument that I think was particularly stupid, and I don't usually say people are doing things stupid, but in this case, I think it was Mr. Herrera made the argument that there's nothing in the Sunshine Ordinance that says they have to allow access to the audiovisual equipment. Well, if you read the ordinance, there's actually nothing that says you have to provide access to a microphone. So I don't know whether that's their next plan is to simply say, oh, well, when people come up we don't agree with, we will cut off their microphone and force them to shout their objections. I'll be honest with you. If I were on the Library Commission or the city librarian, I would not want to allow access to these documents, to the audiovisuals for members of the public. As the old expression goes, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and we have done them enough damage. And in fact, I'll take that back and rephrase it. We have identified enough ways in which they have damaged themselves just verbally. If we were allowed to get up and show charts and graphs to show exactly what we were talking about, I think it would have enhanced public understanding, and that is why they abridged public comment. By simply saying, okay, you have to do everything verbally. And they made some stupid decision that if members of the public wanted to submit documents, they could, at their own cost, produce those documents and leave them out for members of the public. Well, number one, a lot of members of the public would never get those documents because they wouldn't go out with the documents provided by the other side in the packet. And number two, it puts the cost on the individual citizen, which is a real hard burden to bear for many citizens. And I think it's completely disingenuous. Like I said, if I were them, I would not want us to have access to the graphics either. The bottom line is, from 2000 to 2012, as reported to the California State Attorney General, the Friends of the San Francisco Public Library raised over $53 million in the name of the library and, by extension, in the name of the citizens of San Francisco. And Mr. Herrera and the city and the Library Commission have done their best to try to hide the fact that they had basically no idea where that money went. They can account for a few $1 million, but even those numbers are really questionable because they do not have the documents to back them up. They continually say this is reported by the Friends, and when asked for these reports, simply acknowledge they don't have them. So they want to keep the public from pointing out these breaches of public trust placed in them.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to offer facts and evidence in support of the complainant?
Well, I certainly expect to make public comment later. Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, this is not evidence. I'm going to be making arguments.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, it would be wise for you to wait then. There's a representative here from the Library Commission?
Yes, I'm Michelle Jeffers. I represent the San Francisco Public Library. The Commission Secretary, Sue Blackman, is out of town today and asked me to appear on her behalf. I believe you have the letter dated September 12th explaining the Commission's decision and action.
Yes, we do have it.
Okay. I don't have further comments beyond that letter,
Okay.
but I'm happy to answer questions if you have any questions for me.
All right. Thank you. It's towards the end of the packet. It's a 2-page letter dated
I see it.
September 12th. Is there anyone here to offer facts and evidence in support of the library? Okay. Ms. Jeffers, I have some questions. When the task force, the full task force, heard this matter, we were pretty pretty unanimously mystified as to why the library would have to spend $40,000, which it says it doesn't have. I could ask the Friends of the Library for the money, I suppose. But we're just mystified as to why this cost would be necessary, given that AV presentations are made routinely when the library requests them, and it's a matter of being provided with PowerPoint presentation, and then you have the wherewithal to show this material. So we were wondering, why in the world couldn't the members of the public ahead of time send brief PowerPoint presentations, in Mr. Hart's case, 2 slides, and they could be put in the queue and shown. This is very puzzling. Do you have anything to add?
Well, I would say that, are you asking me what the $40,000 would, what the explanation is of that $40,000 cost?
Right. When the library, when you have meetings, Library Commission has meetings, sometimes PowerPoint presentations are given. These are, according to my understanding, these are presentations that are requested by the library for informational purposes.
I would say that 90% of the presentations that are given are actually given by library employees, presenting information about an item that the commission has asked for information about, say summer reading or digital strategies at the library.
So it is.
And then other times we've asked an outside organization to give a presentation specifically at their request.
Right. So we're hearing that this is done routinely. So apparently the technology is there. We're just wondering why.
The technology is not there for a member of the public to come up and be able to provide an electronic version of their comments. That's what the $40,000 would go to pay for modifying the equipment so that they could make a presentation at the hearing.
Well, I don't think we're envisioning having an overhead projector. That's very old technology. We're just...
Right, and we aren't envisioning an overhead projector in that $40,000 cost either.
I guess we're wondering what modifications would have to be made. We're talking about a PowerPoint presentation. It's an electronic file that could be put on a flash drive, and
To have it connected to where our computer is would require modifying the actual podium and stage in the Correct Auditorium where the Library Commission meetings are held. That's where the $40,000 comes into question.
Our concern, because I remember this, was that it wasn't about modifying it, and we were willing and hoping that the Library Commission could make some kinds of amendments that if the member of the public wanted to do an audiovisual presentation, they had we have 5 days to get, our thing done in advance. So everyone's not going to present an audiovisual thing, but what was concerning to us was the fact that you have the equipment there. It's not about modifying anything. It's that people are giving presentations, but the members of the public weren't allowed to. Even with modifications, putting the burden even on the member of the public, which it seems like people were willing to do, and send stuff in 5 days in advance of a meeting or something like that, that was, a possibility. It was almost like the Library Commission wasn't trying to work with the public. What's necessary for them to be able to present something audiovisually without, it wasn't about modifying something so they could come up there and have a flash drive, because that would take too much time and it would just kind of, it might mess up the equipment, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So I remember this, that we said that if they were to present something to the Library Commission 5 days in advance or 10 days, whatever was required, enough time to get you guys the material that you needed, would that be a possibility? And I don't see, that hasn't been answered.
Well, the commission did discuss that at their hearing on August 15th. And what they decided was if someone had a visual presentation that they wanted to present, that they could bring it, print it out, and show it to the commission, and show it to the audience.
But that's not fair, because then you guys are asking other people, invited people, to present things, and they are having the ability to use the audiovisual.
Those are items that are on our agenda, not public comment items.
So that's the thing, I'm like, I wonder why we can't make some amendments or something, or you guys can't make some amendments to kind of help the public out, because I don't think that a lot of people are asking to bring audiovisual material, unless I'm mistaken, and I've not been to one of your meetings, so, and then maybe perhaps that's a question for Mr. Hartz, but I didn't think that it was a lot of people. I think it was more every now and then, but they'd have the opportunity, giving you guys enough notice and things of that sort. So that's kind of where the quandary is for us as a task force. That was the big thing, and it still hasn't been answered. So I'm just trying to figure out, because it's about the $40,000, but that's not what the issue was. The issue was about how can they have the same access as the invited guests. So even when you say it, it sounds like you're being discriminatory towards members of the public. So I don't know if you can answer that question.
I can't. I mean, I can tell you what the action the commission took and why they took it, but
Got it.
I can't
Okay.
go further.
Thank you. Okay.
At this, do you have any further questions? Okay.
No, thank
At
you.
this point, you have 3 minutes for a rebuttal. Ms. Jeffers?
I think that our comments have been fully encapsulated here. I don't have a rebuttal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hartz, you also have 3 minutes.
And again, what we have is non-answers. With all due respect to the representative of the library, I think they should have sent somebody who could actually speak to this. And to be even more fair, I would say that even if they had sent Ms. Blackman, she can't really respond as to why members of the Library Commission and the city librarian are so adamant about preventing us from having equal access. And that's all we're asking for. It's all I've ever asked for. I made that very clear in the emails that are in your package between myself and Mr. Herrera, that all we're asking is that the people who approve of you get this access, and yet when it comes to us dealing with the same issues, we're denied the access and we have to do everything verbally. Basically, it'll go back to that same argument, is if I were them, I would not want us to have access either, for the simple fact that we have a lot of damning information we have obtained from sources outside the library and from the library itself, which really call into question their handling of their duties as library commissioners and the city librarian. Their primary responsibility is to look out for the interest not only of the public library, but also of the employees of the library. They have not done that. $53 million being allowed to be raised and spent in the name of the library and by extension by the name of the citizens of San Francisco, and then not doing anything to actually determine how much of that money was directly benefiting the library is a complete abrogation or abdication of their responsibilities to the library and the responsibilities they took when they accepted the position as library commissioners or city librarian. In addition, there have been really a lot of questions raised about how the funding was done and the fact that they don't have any documents to show how all of these trips and things that they themselves received. Ms. Gomez, the president of the Library Commission, got trips, didn't report them. Mr. Herrera got trips and hotel accommodations and didn't report them. And they allowed members of the library staff to accept those gifts without making any effort to determine whether what they were doing was legal. So when we raise these issues and then point out that while accepting the gifts, they were at the same time abrogating or abdicating their responsibility to look into this money, I think there's a clear conflict of interest. And as I said, they do not want us to be able to be maximally effective by allowing us equal access. They know by their own use of the PowerPoint presentations, whether it's for the library staff or for the groups like the Friends, that it's a very effective tool in getting across the information. And they want to deny us the ability to do the same, even when we're talking about the same issues presented by the groups they approve of.
Thank you. This time, do we have a motion for what to do with this case?
I think that I would, we can discuss it. I would move to refer this back to the task force with a recommendation to go to Ethics Commission. Oh, you would be the second. There's nobody else here. But I mean, at this time, we just moved I moved to refer this item back to the task force because the full task force at the next task force meeting, because nothing has been done or moved forward, or I still don't agree with that argument.
Right, nothing's changed.
Yeah, I see the letter, and I see that they've brought it on the agenda, so for that, I appreciate that that was brought up, but there was no action, and their argument for still denying this kind of concerns me. So I'd like to get a bigger group discussing this item and seeing where they'd like to see how this should be handled.
Right, I agree, and that's my thought, is to send it back to the task force. Nothing really has changed, and I still remain mystified as to why, at this day and age, some accommodation that would cost nothing could be made. And the task force was clear that the principle here is that the members of the public have equal access to, are on an equal footing to make public comment. I mean, this is what this is all about. Everything in this building is a matter for the public, and other buildings where we have meetings. And so, the task force is pretty clear about this. And I'm wondering if we shouldn't request that the city librarian himself appear.
I think that legally you can request it.
Sure.
Yeah, but
I mean, this would give him another shot at explaining to us what the problem is here, because it seems pretty simple to me. So we have a motion to send this back. Our committee makes recommendations to the task force for how to dispense with this, but it's up to the full task force what will happen. So is there anyone here to speak to this motion before us?
Yes. And thank you very much. Stop the corporate rape of our public library. Don't give money to friends of the library. Don't accept money from the library. In response to Mr. Hart's request to use the graphics, the city librarian responded with a letter March 5, which is available in your packet. It claims that providing access to the public would cost $40,000 and that, quote, the library department does not have the resources to incur these costs. What does the library mean by this? The library has been presented with 2 budget presentations. Because the library has what is called a library preservation fund, their unspent funds go back into a reserve for future expenditures. On February 7, the Library Commission was presented with a budget for this year, which showed that the proposed budget was $100.5 million, and the reserve brought forward from last year was $17.44 million. In May, the city librarian announced orally that the controller was estimating an extra $3.1 million. On July 18, the Library Commission received another presentation which showed that the library reserve would be increased by $1.89 million. This means that with this year's budget being $100.5 million, and next year's budget is expected to be $104.2 million, and the reserve is expected to be a minimum of $19.33 million, the librarian still tells you that $40,000 for democracy, the library has no resources. In February of 2012, the California State Librarian at the time, Stacy Aldrich, made a presentation to the Library Commission, including a PowerPoint presentation called Perspectives on the Future of Libraries. At that time, she told the Library Commission that the way our minds are working and how we are getting information is changing. Visually interacting with information and communication has expanded. She also stated libraries are moving information from a text-based world to a much more graphic and much more visual world. I think Stacy Aldrich was shocked when I told her that the Library Commission did not allow citizens to have access to the graphics. Of course, this presentation itself should be a graphic illustration of why the Library Commission does not allow citizens to use the graphics. They don't want to be confronted with a situation where they can't pretend they don't know what we're talking about. This does not even address the legal issues of equal treatment in a public forum, which would exist in a democracy under our Constitution, even if there were no Sunshine Ordinance. What we see is that the library makes no pretense of being honest, and their outrageousness is just a measure of how powerful they are. Thank you very much.
Well, I must say, you've just, in a very powerful way, demonstrated how a PowerPoint presentation can quickly change views. My goodness. I mean, you're sort of speaking to the choir here, but boy, I was impressed. I'll have to get you to do PowerPoints for my classes I teach. Wow, pardon me?
No, right.
Oh. All right, so there's no one else to speak to this matter, so Ms. Osprey, would you call the roll, please?
Member Grant?
Aye.
Grant, aye, and Chair Washburn.
Aye.
Chair Washburn, aye, 2 ayes.
You might bring this along to the full task force meeting. Ms. Osprey, would you call the next item on the agenda, please?
Item number 4, public comment.
Okay, this is the time where we ask for public comment for items that are not on the agenda.
Members, Ray Harris, Director, San Francisco Open Government. Barry Goldwater, and I can't remember the exact phrasing of it, he said, you know, hesitancy in defending democracy is not a virtue. And I tend to say things that tend to probably tweak a few people's nose and put them out of joint and so forth. But at the same time, I always take the attitude that the people I'm dealing with and addressing are smart people who understand that what I'm saying is true. And the simple fact here in California, or in San Francisco, I came from 25 years in the state of Hawaii, and I was elected to 2 4-year terms on what was called the Makali-Mawili-Ili Neighborhood Board. It was an elected position, and it was community meetings we held once or twice a month in the neighborhood, and all the members of the public would come in. And one of the things that we found there was that whenever you had a public meeting, we would always have a representative from the police department, the fire department, the City and County of San Francisco Commission, Honolulu Commission, and so forth. And they would always listen to the questions and the comments that were made by the public, and they would do their best to answer the questions. Occasionally, they would come up and say, you know, I really don't know the answer to that question, but I'll find out. And we found that the next meeting, they would come back and they would give you the answer. And you never had to track them down like with bloodhounds to, you know, force an answer out of them. They were always very adamant. And I'll be honest with you, I moved here in 1999, and I didn't start attending public meetings until about 2005, 2006. But when I did, I was actually shocked by the fact that the openness that I had seen in Honolulu and throughout the state of Hawaii, actually, in public meetings, was completely absent here. And that very often the boards and commissions would sit behind their podium like it was some sort of a protected fort, and the public would say things which they would just completely, it would in one ear and out the other, or over their head, or whatever, because it didn't suit their purpose. The Library Commission and I and others in the public have had a long battle. It was about getting our comments actually represented accurately in the minutes. Then it was over the getting the 150-word summaries attached to the minutes. Then it was getting them put into the minutes. And in every case, they dragged their heels until they could absolutely do nothing more. And it came down to when Mr. Herrera had to appear before the Ethics Commission and was in danger of being found in violation, as the president of the Library Commission was, before he finally showed up and actually explained himself. It takes a lot to drag them in.
Thank you. Are there additional comments?
Yes, thank you very much. And stop the hate, stop the ignorance. Don't give money to the Friends of the Library. Don't accept money from the Friends of the Library. I noticed that you didn't ask me, as I kind of induced you to do, to pursue the issue of the legal parameters on the last issue. With your indulgence, let me kind of just talk generally about constitutional framework anyway, and maybe you'll see some relationships and maybe you won't. There is in First Amendment law and public forum law the fact that invitees is a term of art which triggers those kinds of equal treatment. You know, there's a principle in First Amendment law that you can't differentiate on the fact that somebody's been invited and another person's not. Now, if you step back from that a little bit, you look at the Library Commission, which is a policy body appointed by the mayor with some oversight responsibility over the library department. They are not the library department. If the Library Commission invites the library department to make a presentation, they're not the same body. And in fact, one of the principles of First Amendment law is to provide the citizens with equal access to the government. I mean, we're supposed to be on a same footing as citizens with the government that rules us so that we can be effective in directing policies, empowering ourselves, and just in general creating a democracy. Now, there is a principle in public forum law, and there's a case, I don't remember it now, somebody sued the city of Salt Lake City about their attempt to create a free speech, non-free speech zone. And the court said very specifically that you cannot trade the benefits of a public forum for other benefits. Once you've taken this step of creating a public forum in which the department or other outsiders or anybody has access to the tools of a public forum, you have to allow those to everyone on an equal basis, even if it costs more money. You know, you can't trade away the freedoms of an open society based on the idea that it's going to cost money. You set that up, and, you know, the very fact that you've created it triggers those requirements. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that clarification. I really appreciate it. Again, I invite you to the next full task force meeting where we'll be discussing this with all of us present, and bring the PowerPoint along too. It's very powerful. Ms. Osprey, would you call the next item on the agenda, please?
Next item, number 5, Administrator's Report. In front of you have the current Administrator's Report. There are currently no complaints in the pipeline for CAC 2 here. There's nothing further to report.
Okay, so next month we might not have a meeting. So would you call the next item on the agenda, please?
Item number 6, announcements, comments, questions, future agenda items.
I don't have anything, just until we have some more cases, we may not be meeting for a bit. Although we also have our second charge, which is our amendments to the ordinance. In the past, we have discussed that, but at any rate, that's what we used to spend quite a bit of time doing in the past. There's nothing further. This meeting is adjourned at 4:52.
Yay. So moved.